Gaming Bolt presents 15 best games of 2018 so far. We're halfway through 2018 now, and it's time to take a pause and look back on all the good stuff, of which there's been plenty. The first half of the year has been packed with great releases on every platform, both exclusives and multi-platform, indie and AAA, ranging across all genres. In this feature, we're going to take a look at the cream of the crop, starting with what we feel is the 15th best game of 2018 so far, and counting right down to our favorite game of the first of the year. Without further ado, let's kick this right off. A Way Out. EA marketed A Way Out pretty heavily, a path to at least minor salvation for a company that has lost so much face in the last few years. And while A Way Out may not have changed your perception of the company, it's fair to say that the co-op indie game made by the uber-passionate Josef Fares and his team was one hell of an experience. A Way Out's couch co-op only approach was a bold one, but it paid off, with a story and characters that were easy to care about, and mechanics that, while not anything out of the ordinary, provided a good solid range of gameplay styles and experiences. Detroit Become Human. David Cage and Quantic Dream's Detroit Become Human had been an anticipated PS4 title for a long time. It was first announced back in 2015, and there's no doubting that the final product delivered on those expectations. Detroit Become Human falters a little bit in some places, like some heavy-handed means of conveying its inner messages and themes, and somewhat inconsistent pacing. But with an arresting narrative, true consequences to the player's actions, and some of the most impressive visuals we have ever seen on a console game, it has to be one of the best games of the year so far. Frostpunk. What do you get when you cross a city builder with a survival game? You get one hell of a game, that's what. Frostpunk sounds like a unique, intriguing game the moment you hear of its basic premise, but when you actually play it, it turns out to be so much better than you could have ever hoped. Every decision you make feels like a punch to the gut, and it always has weight, always has consequence. The general aesthetic of the game is excellent as well, with its beautiful and bleak visuals immediately pulling you into its setting. Surprisingly, Frostpunk also manages to deliver some truly emotional storytelling. This is, without a doubt, one of the best PC games to have been released this year. VAMPYR. VAMPYR is not without its flaws. That much is immediately apparent the moment you lay eyes on it, but this is still very much an absolute gem, a diamond in the rough. Decision-making becomes a mechanic that is ingrained into the entire experience's very core, and is put to use with excellence in both gameplay and storytelling. The entire game reacts to the choices you make in amazing ways, and VAMPYR makes you live with each and every one of those decisions, both big and small. Its excellent setting and genuinely interesting narrative also contribute greatly to making it a truly unforgettable experience. Ni no Kuni 2: Revenant Kingdom. In Ni no Kuni 2, you get everything you'd want Ni no Kuni's sequel to have. Charming characters, beautiful visuals, amazing art direction, and so much more. The combat is ridiculously better than its predecessor. Its kingdom-building mechanics are deceptively deep and addictive, and every single element in this vast, layered game seems to be working in conjunction towards a singular goal, that of delivering an arresting and engaging experience. Yakuza 6: The Song of Life. Last year, Yakuza 0 helped the series break into the mainstream with Western audiences, so many people were looking forward to Yakuza 6. Thankfully, the game delivered in heaps. Sure, there's an argument to be made that the Song of Life is a step back from 0 in many ways, but there's just so much to love here, from the heartfelt story and the sharp writing to the amazing visuals and its truly addictive minigames. If Yakuza 6 is really the final hurrah of Kiryu, and indeed, it looks like that truly might be the case, then this really is a great way to sign off. Jurassic World Evolution. Here's how Jurassic World Evolution can be best described. It's like someone reached into your mind, isolated your wildest, most spectacular, fantastic Jurassic Park-inspired dreams, put them into a game, threw in elements of Zoo Tycoon and Roller Coaster Tycoon, and then charged you $60 for it. It's an amazing experience, surprisingly addictive, and full of fan service to the property it spawns from. It succeeds as both a love letter to dinosaur enthusiasts, of which there are many in this world, and a management sim. It's not a game without its flaws, but it is a game that can keep you glued to your screens for countless hours on end. Dragon Ball FIGHTERZ. Dragon Ball FIGHTERZ is a Dragon Ball fan's wet dream come true. No one doubts Arc System Works' credibility as one of the best developers of fighters out there, and the prospect of these two names coming together was a mouth-watering one, and man, did the game deliver on those expectations. An excellent combat system, a beautiful art style, an incredible roster of characters, and surprisingly engaging single-player campaign are just a few of the game's strengths, and also its biggest. Sure, the game's online side is a little lacking, and in a fighter that's not a small flaw by any means, but when everything else is as good as it is here, it's hard not to fall in love with this game. Far Cry 5. Ubisoft continues what they started with Assassin's Creed Origins and gave us an open world that wasn't rigid and overly structured, but organic and fluid, and it was, without a shadow of a doubt, the right direction to go. Far Cry 5's main narrative is decidedly less interesting than its predecessors, but everything else here is just top-notch. The world is an engaging sandbox of interlocking systems and mechanics, giving rise to endless gameplay opportunities and incredible emergent moments. Far Cry has always been known for its brand of bombastic and over-the-top action, and mixing that with this fluid, do-whatever-the-hell-you-want style of open-world gameplay was absolutely the right decision by Ubisoft. Celeste. There isn't much of a market out there for skill-based, precision-based platformers, commercially speaking, and that's a real shame because games like Celeste show us that these games can be some of the best, most engaging, most high-quality experiences in the industry. Celeste is the kind of game that doesn't bombard you with one mechanic on top of another, but plays around with a few core mechanics and perfects them to an unbelievable degree, squeezing out every last bit of gameplay opportunity out of them. On top of that, this is also a game with a surprisingly heartfelt and gripping story, and with the prospects of great replay value and a beautiful visual palette added on top of that, Celeste is not only one of the best games of this year, but also of this generation. Period. Shadow of the Colossus. Shadow of the Colossus is perhaps one of the best, most memorable first-party exclusives we've ever seen on a PlayStation console, approaching players with a concept for a game that shouldn't really work, but somehow supersedes all expectations in its immaculate execution. This year's remake did exactly what the PlayStation 2 original did in terms of all of that, delivering the amazing experience we all remember for 2005, but it somehow made it even better. Shadow of the Colossus on the PS4 looks unbelievably stunning, and fixes many of the original's biggest issues, most notably its fiddly controls. It's no surprise then, in light of all of that, that it finds a place so high on our list of favorite games of 2018 so far. Into the Breach. A turn-based strategy game developed by the makers of FTL Faster Than Light, written by the legendary storyteller Chris Avallone. That right there is a recipe for success. Into the Breach is a fantastic game, there's no two ways about it. There's just so much to love here, it's hard to talk about it without blubbering. How about its relentless focus on true strategy? How about the emphasis on player choice in true Avallone fashion? How about its incredible cast of characters and its strong world building? How about the excellent music and its beautiful art style? Into the Breach is an instant classic, and we sincerely hope subset games bring it to more systems because this is a game that a lot more people need to play. Pillars of Eternity 2: DEADFIRE. Pillars of Eternity 2 is everything you loved about Pillars of Eternity, just, well, more of it. It's exactly what a sequel should be. It takes the strongest foundations of its predecessors, an excellent combat system, sharp writing, a great level of player choice, and deep world building, and builds on them even further. DEADFIRE also adds some significant new elements, like naval exploration, while improving upon aspects of the predecessor that were already top-notch, like a strong cast of characters and great quest design. With all of that in mind, it's hard not to love Pillars of Eternity 2 as much as so many people seem to, us included. Monster Hunter World. Everyone expected Monster Hunter World to be good. There is no such thing as a bad Monster Hunter game after all. But no one expected it to become what it turned out to be, taking the beloved yet niche and obtuse Monster Hunter formula and streamlining it to make it accessible without somehow miraculously losing any of the depth that made the previous game so beloved to begin with, while also evolving Monster Hunter for a new generation. World turned out to be thrilling, addictive, and captivating like few other games can ever hope to be. Hundreds of hours in, and the biggest complaint people have from Monster Hunter World is that there wasn't more of it. And that's how you know Capcom succeeded. God of War. It isn't very often that a game comes along that is as accomplished in everything it does as God of War is. This is a game whose incredible quality knocks the wind out of you. It's a bold, radical reimagining of one of Sony's biggest franchises, and it drags the series forward into the next generation with such mind-blowing brilliance, it's hard not to be impressed by it. God of War succeeds spectacularly as both a story and as a game. This tale of a father and a son on their journey is one that touches your heart, but does so while remaining absolutely true to both Kratos' character and the series' history. The combat is completely new and unlike anything God of War has ever done before, and it's absolutely amazing and also manages to feel familiar somehow. There's just so much else you can gush over. The incredible soundtrack, the gorgeous visuals, the wealth of meaningful side content on offer, the strong world design, the writing, and the performances of the actors involved. God of War is truly one of the greatest games Sony has ever made. And we're so glad that they managed to find a way to bring Kratos into the next generation, alive and kicking. And that about does it for this video. If you enjoyed what you watched and want to see more from Gaming Bolt, you can always hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell icon next to it. That way you will never miss any of our videos.